Welcome, I'm Ehabad. I'm Ehabad, a free-to-play endgame player in Raid Shadow Legends. I'm often asked to make videos around resource management, and in this video we'll focus on shards and books, which generally are the two highest value resources in the game, and the two that most people want to maximise. I had done the preparation for this video back in January, but was very busy during February and wasn't able to get the video done. I then wasn't going to make the video using the data I'd collected as it became increasingly aged, but was recently requested to make it nonetheless. So here we are. I can complete all the fusions and acquire the majority of the guaranteed champions, all whilst being free to play. This has been a big factor in my progression, reducing the reliance on good RNG to acquire the champions needed to advance. It is, however, not foolproof. The guaranteed champions are becoming increasingly more frequent, so I have to make decisions about which ones I go for. For instance, I recently skipped Raf Matab. Furthermore, I was not able to get Riho, as I had not anticipated needing 90 voids, and only had around 60 to 70 at the time. Enough, I thought, for any guaranteed void epic, and a 2x void event. The core philosophy of my resource management is to be positive net use. In other words, I'm always earning more resources than I am expending. This means my activity is always going to be sustainable. By far the biggest area of the game to earn resources is Clan Boss, and I've tracked my resource accumulation and expenditure for an entire calendar month, and this data really emphasises the importance of Clan Boss for long-term progression. As you can see, we're at Clan Boss Reset, so we get to see... As you can see here, we're at Clan Boss Reset, so we can take a look through the chest to see what we're getting today, for example. I do beat Hard, Brutal, Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare on a daily basis, as does the rest of my clan, so I'm getting 2x chests across the board. That said, the resources predominantly come from Ultra Nightmare, and that's why it's so important in an early to mid-game account to be progressing through Clan Boss to the point that you can beat Ultra Nightmare as quickly as possible. And furthermore, to ensure that you're in a clan that is beating Ultra Nightmare on a daily basis to get those 2x clan chests. So let's have a little look through the chests. And in Hard today, nothing in the first chest, not really anything in the second, which is pretty much expected. Brutal, nothing in the first chest. And in the second, nothing again. So this is fairly typical, to be honest. But in Nightmare, we have a Void Shard, and that's, pretty good. We need to be accumulating as many shards as possible. So anytime we're getting either shards or books in the Nightmare chest, that's a good result. And in the second chest, we actually got an Ancient and an Epic Tome. So, really good luck there. Now onto the Ultra Nightmare, we've got another Epic book. So we're doing well today. And in the second chest, wow, look at that, Legendary book and a Sacred Shard. Okay, so today is not, I would say, a typical day, but it's a nice way to demonstrate the importance of Clan Boss. You can see right here on a given day, we can get a number of books and a number of shards. Right, let's move on. Whilst we go through the data, I'm just going to start my Clan Boss keys. So we've got that running in the background. I do run Bat Eater with Feign, and I'm able to one key really any affinity other than magic on Ultra Nightmare, so I typically will always hit it at Void at reset. At some stage, I may look to tweak this to ensure that I have a one key on all affinities, just to make that reliance disappear. But anyway, that's not for today's video at all. Let's jump into the data. Right then, so the first thing we're going to look at is here's the actual data that I recorded. So you can see I've kind of looked whether this is an accrual or an expenditure. In this case, it's a gain, what type of resource it is. So is it a shard or a tome? And then the quality, is it an ancient shard? Is it a legendary book? And the number. So you can see in this day on Clan Boss, between the Ultra Nightmare chests, I got 2 ancient shards and 1 epic book. So I recorded this every day for the entire month of January, looking at all the different areas of the game, be it tournaments, events, Clan Boss, the marketplace, the gold shop, if you will, which there's not a lot other than the sort of 5 or 6 ancient shards that we get every month there, but also things like TTA Bazaar, the advanced quests, the typical daily quests with the weekly and monthly. On the weekly we have an ancient shard, and on the monthly we have a void and a legendary shard. So I've tried to be as thorough as possible and accumulate as much data as possible. So with that in mind, I'm sure you're all interested to know, what is the totals? Here we are. So the total number of shards I accumulated throughout January, or throughout a month, because, the actual month doesn't really matter. It was based on January's data, but it's going to be fairly typical for any kind of average month. I got 158 shards in total, of which the big ones that we really care about is 16 sacreds. Is enough to completely maximize a single summon rush, or it's enough to get a guaranteed legendary, as long as you're not using the sacreds for anything else. So in theory, you could do one full event roughly every month if you're an endgame player, even free to play. We got 36 voids, which isn't really enough to do everything in the game. Particularly, there's a lot of void 10x's that are attractive. There's the 2x void events, which I typically say, if you want to get the first legendary tome, which is usually at 3,000 points and is usually in a champion chase, will take around 30 voids. So yes, they come every 6 weeks, but you're not therefore accumulating that much more than you need just to pull each 2x void. So I've actually started to skip some 2x void events in favor of stockpiling more shards on the void side, in case there's something in the future where I need to have more of them available, such as the guaranteed reho that we had. And then lastly, on the ancient side, 106, which is nearly enough for a guaranteed legendary on the ancient side. Typically they price them between 120 and 150. So say every 6 weeks you could probably do that, but you have to then make the choice: do you summon on the 2x ancient, or do you save for the guaranteed? Because you probably won't be able to do both, given that every 6 weeks we'll have a 2x ancient and probably get about 150 ancients between each consecutive 2x's, assuming I don't use them for anything else. And then on the book side of things, we managed to get 84 in total books, and kind of the split is fairly unsurprising, I would say. 23 legendary tomes is a good amount. That's enough basically each month to probably book, say, on average 2 champions. We'll also have 2 CVCs each month, so in theory could probably use 10 books per CVC and still be safe. So it's a good number, but obviously we're not going to book every legendary we get, because we probably accrue more than 2 legendaries per month between shard pulls and fusions. And then on the epic side, 41 books in a given month is definitely enough, and particularly on the kind of early to mid game, or early game you won't be actually accruing this many, but typically in the mid to early end game phase, where you're probably focusing on a lot more epics, particularly to say get faction wars done. This number of epic books is really important, because I'd say each epic takes between 10 and 15 books to book out, so you can realistically book maybe 2 or 3 a month, and you need to be booking them to get faction wars done. So we do need these. And then obviously there are not so many rare books anymore. In terms of what resources I expended during that time, there was a 2x void event, so we summoned 37 voids for that event. That was enough to get the 3,000 points to get the legendary tome. We used 3 sacreds to get enough summon rush points to complete the fragment fusion that was done in January. Let me see if we can remember who that was, in fact. It was Opardin Clanfather. So that was the fusion that was taking place during January. And we had a champion chase on January 21st and the summon rush on January the 28th. So the 2x void will have been the champion chase for Opardin, and the sacreds there would have been on the summon rush. So we've used this many shards. That has got us the fusion done. We've tried to be minimum usage in terms of resources. So during the month, we've actually expended one void, but over a given 6-week period, we will be net positive. But on this particular month, we actually used more voids than we earned. And then on the sacred side, we've accrued 13. In terms of the tomes, we used that during CBC. You can see we used 22 epic tomes in this particular CBC for points, and in the other CBC during January, we did not use any books. So as a consequence, all the other books that we earned during that month go in to be used in future months. So we're again net positive on resources in that regard. Now, if we take a look at how the shards have been accumulated during that period, you can see of the 158 total shards that we earned during the month, 86 of them have come from Clan Boss. So a significant portion, more than half of the total shards have come from Clan Boss. But more importantly, of the 16 sacreds, 12 have come from Clan Boss. That's 75% of all of our sacreds have come from Clan Boss. So it's extremely important to get your Clan Boss team set up. And you can see again on the Ancient side and on the Void side, we've got between 50% of the Voids have come, just over 50% of the Ancients. So a significant portion of all of our shards have come from Clan Boss. And that's why every content creator is always saying, focus on your Clan Boss team. Now, outside of Clan Boss, we've also picked up a couple of sacreds from Doom Tower, from the TTA Bazaar, and from the advanced quests. And from the monthly reset on the quests. So there's not a lot of other avenues to pick up sacred shards other than Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss. I would suggest that the 2 from Doom Tower should be a secondary priority after you've got your Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss sorted. Beating hard Doom Tower each month, getting yourself an extra 2 sacreds is well worth doing. And then you're only really going to miss out on the one in gold TTA Bazaar, but with the new kind of nerf or kind of change to the number of players that are allowed in gold, hopefully this will be open to many more people as well. On the Void side of things, actually being in a kind of tier 6 clan for CVC can earn you a decent number of Void shards. It did in this specific month here. And again, beating Doom Tower, 6 shards, it's really not that bad. People were unhappy with the overall resources that Doom Tower gave us. And whilst they could be better, the reality is it's still the second best place to get shards after Clan Boss. There's nowhere else. So, beggars can't be choosers. I'd say it's well worth you trying to beat both normal and hard Doom Tower each month to pick up the resources there. And then on the Ancient side, we've got a lot more spread. I actually failed to record the location of 4 of them, so I don't know where they came from, but it doesn't really matter too much. You can see the overall trend is that we get a lot of them from Clan Boss, we get a lot of them from general events that we do during the month. So if you're active and you do the events and the tournaments, we're picking up a good number of Ancient shards there. Between the weekly reset on the quest, which is actually every 5 days, as long as you're doing your dailies, you get another 6 there. And then there's bits kind of spread around. You get 1 free one each week through the shop. You get the ones in the marketplace. sometimes you can get lucky with the weekly arena chest, which is actually a very disappointing area of the game. I think if you wanted to look at any area of the game that really doesn't give much to the majority of players, it's arena. You'll see it both on the shards and the book side. It really needs revision. Now, if we do the same thing, we look at the books. Again, Clan Boss is enormous. 26 books coming from Clan Boss of the 84 we've got in total. Not as, the distribution isn't as extreme as it was on the shard side of things. But again, when you look at the legendary tomes, we've got 11 coming from Clan Boss. It's enormous. It's so important to get your Clan Boss teams sorted as a result. And again, in Doom Tower, you can see we're picking up another couple of legendary tomes and another 3 epic tomes. It's another good part of the game to get resources once you've got your Clan Boss team sorted. Definitely worth focusing a bit of attention on the Doom Tower side of things. Beyond that, we actually can pick up quite a lot of books through the events and tournaments by ensuring that we're focusing our resources in the right manner and completing as many of the, particularly on the legendary tome side, these mostly come from champion training events, which you guys know that I'm a big proponent of trying to get those done because we relatively accessible legendary books in them. That said, I think that when they put the legendary books in Dungeon Divers events, they're really bad value. So typically I would say that those are a trap and should be avoided. And then otherwise, with the dungeons and with artifact enhancement events, we can pick up quite a lot of epic tomes through those events and tournaments. And they do add up, 17 additional epic tomes over the course of a month is not insignificant. So it's an important part of the game as well. It's just to keep being active and keep doing those events and tournaments and get all the resources that we possibly can. We can then recycle these into CVC points, which can get us more resources, or we can recycle them into, on the shard side, into getting guaranteed legendaries or completing fusions. It's a cyclical situation where the more time and effort and resources we put in an optimum fashion, the more we get back. Now, lastly, if we have a look at the actual clan bosses themselves and see the distribution of both tomes and shards, on the top here we have the shards. You can see of the 12 sacreds I got in that month, 8 came from Ultra Nightmare. And of the 18 voids, 11 came from Ultra Nightmare. And of the 56 ancients, 33 came from Ultra Nightmare. So it's a hugely important part, is not just to progress Clan Boss, but to be getting the 2x chests on Ultra Nightmare. The step up in terms of resources from Nightmare to Ultra Nightmare is significant. But moreover, I'd say the first port of call for any new account is to get to Nightmare. That has got to be the very first thing you do. And the reason is you can pick up sacred shards and you can pick up legendary books. And it's the first tier at which those 2 resources start to drop. And that will enable you to book out the champions typically required to get you on to Ultra Nightmare and to be beating kind of the harder content in Doom Tower and now in Hydra. So, rushing to Nightmare as quickly as possible would always be my recommendation. And then thereafter, work on getting to Ultra Nightmare. Because again, on the book side of things, you can see we got 9 books that month on Ultra Nightmare versus just 2 in Nightmare. We got 8 sacreds versus 4. Now, all of these drops will be slightly different each month, but the overall trend will be as this kind of depicts, and that is Clan Boss is massively important, and Ultra Nightmare is the most important. Is so heavily weighted towards Ultra Nightmare that it's extremely important to get that sorted. And then the second aspect that we'll just kind of briefly discuss is about making those hard choices about when to use resources and when not to. And typically, I'd say if a summoning event is not within a fusion and you don't need to do it, you probably shouldn't. You should probably be saving. On the flip side, if there is a particularly good 2x or a particularly good guaranteed, and you have enough additional resources such that you will be able to do the next fusion without any concern, then, go ahead. Like, pull what you need to get to a certain threshold. So, for instance, I'd say on average on those champion chases, you have a 3k points for the first legendary tome, and then it's 5.5k for the second. If you're pulling, probably you want to be able to get that 3k. If it's on a 2x event, typically you'll see the champion chases will coincide with the 2x's, and the summon rushes will coincide with the 10x events. So say on the champion chase, getting that first legendary book is probably a minimum threshold for most people to be looking for. So if you don't have enough shards to be able to hit the 3k and still have enough shards to do the next fusion, you probably shouldn't be summoning because you're not going to be getting enough return on your resources. Right then, I hope that's been interesting and helpful to you guys. Like, I feel like I've just been waffling on for the last, 15, 20 minutes or whatever it is. Hopefully it'll be reasonably concise once I've kind of cleaned it up and edited it and get it out. But, I hope that this is useful and at least helps you focus on your attention on where in the game will get you those resources to be able to consistently complete the content we're given. Any feedback, always welcome. Please feel free to leave a comment, and any questions on this, I'll happily answer. In terms of making those decisions about when to use resources, it's difficult to give a general opinion on that. It very much depends on the individual account and what the expected kind of calendar of events is going to be. So it's something I tend to try and look at holistically each time we have an instance where Raid is trying to make us use resources, and I'll try and make the hard decisions. And I generally will try and be as conservative as possible and always look to save rather than waste resources. So there we go. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye for now.